Ever wait a while for a movie, only to be let down in a major way? You're not alone. From superhero sequels to long-awaited adaptations, these films were seriously overhyped. It's easy to see why fans were blown away by the trailer for 2016's Suicide Squad that dropped at San Diego Comic-Con. With its haunting music and glimpses of deep-cut characters, the moody teaser whipped superhero fans into a frenzy. Viewers were promised a wild new take on the Joker played by Jared Leto, and while not everyone liked the Joker's grill and tattoos, most were at least a little intrigued to see a new direction for the Clown Prince of Crime. The news that Leto had sent his co-stars disturbing items like a dead pig to remain in character even when he wasn't filming also helped stoke the flames of anticipation. Alas, Suicide Squad ultimately joined the ranks of epic trailers wasted on bad movies. There are too many problems in the film to count, and a lot of them have to do with the fact that its creators couldn't seem to agree on what they were making. Director David Ayer wanted a darker film, more in line with the tone of the Comic-Con trailer, while the studio wanted a more comedic tone. The studio won, compromising the integrity of the movie in the process and causing many fans to keep wondering what might have been. Despite being overhyped in the trailer, the Joker barely appears, but considering how bizarrely Leto plays him, whether or not that's a good thing is up to you.
Listen, you are my guests to this handsome hunka-hunka!
Even though the 2013 film The Lone Ranger is notorious for imploding at the box office nowadays, there was actually a time when Hollywood thought it would be a surefire hit. Disney poured $225 million into producing what they seemed certain would be the blockbuster of the summer. And why wouldn't it be? It promised a big screen return for an iconic character, and it rounded up an all-star cast that included Armie Hammer, Johnny Depp, and Helena Bonham Carter. Director Gore Verbinski had previously launched the massively successful Pirates of the Caribbean franchise and made an excellent Western with Rango, so it seemed a safe bet that his new reboot would bring the house down. Technically, it did, but only in the sense that it set back The House of Mouse by almost $200 million. Viewers felt that the movie was way too long, in part thanks to a frame narrative that adds nothing to the story. The film also sparked controversy because it cast Johnny Depp to play Tonto instead of an indigenous actor and leaned heavily into stereotypes about Native Americans.
You are just another white man. Who are you?
Critics accused the film of being bloated and indulgent, insisting that a Western had no need for such an excessive budget. Given how badly The Lone Ranger performed at the box office, they were probably right. In 2018, Disney released a movie adaptation of the classic sci-fi novel A Wrinkle in Time. It had taken more than 50 years for the book to be adapted into a theatrical release, but director Ava DuVernay finally changed that. She had an all-star cast to help, including Oprah Winfrey, Reese Witherspoon, Mindy Kaling, Storm Reed, Chris Pine, and Zach Galifianakis, but no number of celebrities could stop the film from crashing and burning. Despite high hopes, A Wrinkle in Time was a pretty massive disappointment. Viewers felt it relied too much on the spectacle of CGI, which wasn't enough to compensate for the poor writing. Others were bothered by the movie's lack of subtlety. Since the movie simplifies some of the sci-fi concepts explored in the book and removes the religious references, it falls short of the original novel's complexity. Critics gave it a score of 43% on Rotten Tomatoes, and audiences were even less impressed with 26%. Needless to say, A Wrinkle in Time also performed poorly at the box office, where it was dominated by a more popular Disney property, Black Panther. There was a whole lot of hype surrounding Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, even compared to other Marvel movies. It was going to kick off Phase 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and introduce fans to the surreal quantum realm. It was also supposed to be a trilogy capper and finale to the story of Ant-Man, while also putting long-awaited villains Kang the Conqueror and MODOK on the big screen for the first time. Was the film a box office success? No, and it was a huge disappointment on other fronts as well. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania managed to surpass Eternals as the lowest-rated movie in the entire MCU. The quantum realm was not exactly what fans hoped it would be, less like the colorful worlds of Guardians of the Galaxy and more like the campy assault on the senses from David Lynch's Dune. As it turned out, the much-hyped Kang the Conqueror wasn't all that interesting, and MODOK ended up looking more like a boiled egg than a killing machine.
I don't know what to be. Tell me what to be.
Quantumania was pretty much doomed from the start. Even though it was supposed to be an Ant-Man movie, it was made to be a stepping stone for future MCU projects. This strategy backfired since the MCU seems to be diminishing or even eliminating Kang's role moving forward. Who wouldn't be psyched to see giant cities on wheels? The post-apocalyptic steampunk world of Mortal Engines seemed like it would appeal to fans of Mad Max Fury Road and Howl's Moving Castle, and it was promoted as such. Its marketing campaign also wasted no time in reminding audiences that the script was co-written by none other than Peter Jackson. Universal Pictures was reportedly hoping the movie would kick off a franchise, and like the monstrous moving cities it featured, Mortal Engines seemed too big to fail. It did fail, of course, and many critics believed its size was the main reason it toppled. Fans have argued that the film was too ambitious, trying to cram too many aspects of an expansive world into a single film. The characters and narrative suffered as a result. In retrospect, Mortal Engines had its work cut out for it. The film needed to compete against already established franchises, but with a cast mostly made up of relative unknowns, it couldn't coast on star power. When Mortal Engines went up against superhero movies like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Aquaman, its engine sputtered, causing this colossus to crash and burn. Even when Last Action Hero was still in its script phase, Hollywood smelled a hit. The premise, an ordinary boy is transported into an action movie, was wildly subversive, but still managed to hit all the classic beats of the genre. The script was so hyped in Hollywood that it launched a bidding war, and Arnold Schwarzenegger loved it so much that he offered to star and executive produce. Adding to the project's lineup of action movie royalty was Lethal Weapon writer Shane Black and Die Hard director John McTiernan. Looking back, screenwriter David Arnott told We Minored in Film, "We really had a chance to make the Wizard of Oz of action movies, the E.T. of action movies." Regardless of what the film could have been, the movie we actually got was pretty underwhelming. Rather than being a smart send-up of action movies, Last Action Hero couldn't seem to decide what genre it was actually supposed to be. The script underwent countless rewrites, with different directors, writers, and studio executives all playing tug-of-war. With so many cooks in the kitchen, the movie soon became a casserole made up of leftover ideas from different versions, from Whiskers the animated cat to the Hamlet references. The result was a mess, and once opening weekend arrived, Last Action Hero didn't stand a chance against the second weekend of Jurassic Park.
No sequel for you.
Nothing builds anticipation like a long wait. A superhero crossover film almost 20 years in the making, Glass intrigued audiences who wanted to see the payoff to the stories of David Dunn from Unbreakable and The Horde from Split. When director M. Night Shyamalan announced that he would finally film the conclusion to his East Rail 177 trilogy, social media erupted with excitement. It certainly didn't hurt that audiences seemed pleased with the film in its early screenings. Shyamalan revealed that studio execs had positive responses to a 12-minute clip of the film. Even though Glass was released in January, the notorious dumping ground for movies that are expected to fail, enough fans saw it to make the film profitable. But that didn't mean they were happy with what they saw. To the contrary, Glass is considered one of the worst movies of 2019. Most critics felt that the film's admirable attempts to reinvent the superhero genre fell flat because the story's execution was so clumsy. What's more, the much-hyped trilogy ends with David dying in the most anticlimactic way possible, drowning as he lies face down in a puddle. Certainly, this was an original way to end a superhero movie, but many fans were outraged because the movie's marketing had led them to expect something bigger and better. When Star Wars Episode I: The Phantom Menace hit theaters, it had been 16 years since the last visit to the galaxy far, far away, and fans had been itching to return. Many young millennials felt so excited about the movie because they knew it was meant for their generation, not their parents. Fans purchased tickets weeks in advance and bought the soundtrack on CD. Some were even willing to get up at 3 a.m. to watch the premiere. They needn't have bothered. Unfortunately, The Phantom Menace turned out to be more concerned with its visual effects than its characters. In fact, the movie couldn't even make up its mind who the main character was. Most Star Wars fans couldn't care less about interstellar politics, but that was exactly what Episode I gave them right from the opening crawl. The taxation of trade routes was a far cry from the Civil War teased at the beginning of A New Hope. The prequel was bound to invite comparisons to the previous 3 films, but seeing Qui-Gon Jinn as the wise mentor and Jar Jar as the comic relief only made fans miss the original Obi-Wan Kenobi and C-3PO, even though younger versions of both are also in the film.
You saw a big doo-doo this time.
Once upon a time, the world believed that Joaquin Phoenix had quit his acting career to become a rapper. The film I'm Still Here claimed to be a documentary capturing his descent into debauchery and mental instability. But in reality, I'm Still Here is a work of fiction, and Phoenix went to great lengths to maintain the illusion that it was a genuine documentary. He remained in character on and off the set for more than a year, even appearing on The Late Show with David Letterman, and his mask never slipped once. Phoenix and director Casey Affleck were coy about it, refusing to officially confirm that the star was in on the joke until the day of the film's release. Despite the hype, the film just wasn't all that good. Some viewers were frustrated that Affleck chose to announce that the film was fake at the final moment, feeling that it would have been better to trust audiences to figure it out for themselves. The film was so over the top that it didn't take a genius to think that it was all too far-fetched to be true. Most critics agreed that once viewers stopped wondering if it's real, I'm Still Here lost its intrigue. With that question already answered before you even begin, there isn't much reason to watch the movie, unless you really want to hear Phoenix lay down some rhymes. Disney hyped the hell out of its so-called live-action remake of The Lion King, placing an emphasis on the groundbreaking technology that allowed the filmmakers to build a virtual reality savannah and place the camera anywhere. With big names like Donald Glover and Beyoncé attached to the project and the promise of James Earl Jones reprising his role as Mufasa, it's easy to see why audiences were so excited. Even as Disney remakes were becoming increasingly commonplace, fans knew right away that if they were going to plunk down $12 to see a rehash of a movie they'd already seen, then this was the one to see. And see it they did. The remake may have earned $1.6 billion, but it's still considered one of the worst movies to reach 10 digits at the box office. Sure, it looked more realistic, but that definitely doesn't mean better. Some of the original's most iconic moments simply don't work when rendered in realistic 3D. The 2019 film needlessly recreated the 1994 movie almost shot for shot, and when it did add new material, it was always pretty pointless.
This looks familiar. Where have I seen this before?
Even viewers who had somehow never seen the 1994 version could tell right away that the new one has no reason to exist other than profit.